Good morning. Today we're going to be working on exponential functions. This is a transformations review. This is TEKS from Algebra 2, 2A.5A. It can also be used for an Algebra 1 pre-AP extension. So we have these variables, a, b, h, and k, and what do they do to this equation? Well, a causes a vertical stretch or compression. Vertically means it's either pulling away from the x-axis or it's compressing towards the x-axis. If it's greater than 1, it's a vertical stretch. If it's between 0 and 1, it's a vertical compression. It does do something if it's a negative, but we're actually not going to do any negative a's in this video. B causes a horizontal stretch or compression, and horizontally means it's either pushing towards the y-axis or pulling away from the y-axis. If B is greater than 1, it's a compression, and if it's between 0 and 1, it's a stretch. Now, when you do factor of stretch or compression for horizontal, you always take the reciprocal. So whatever B is, you're actually going to flip it. So if you saw a 5 there, you would say it's a compression by 1/5. H is going to be in the exponent with the x, but because the equation has a negative h, it's always the opposite of what you see. So we're always going to change the sign when we find our h and describe the direction it goes. K is going to switch your graph, shift your graph up and down. If it's positive, it goes up. If it's negative, it goes down. Okay. So now let's describe key features by looking at this graph. So the green graph is the original. It's 3 to the x power. Any exponential that has no left or right translations are going to intersect at 0, 1. Now this graph, how far did it move over? Well, this graph went to the left 3 units. What's my domain? All real numbers. My range. Do you see here how it's getting very, very close to y is 0, but it's never going to touch it? So my lowest y value is 0. My highest y value is going to be infinity. It's going to go up forever. So we're going to write that y is greater than 0. So we can write in inequalities, or we can write it in interval notation. It goes from 0 to infinity. Asymptote. What line was it getting close to but never going to ever cross? My asymptote is y equals 0. So what's the difference between range and asymptote? Asymptote is the line that's never going to cross. It's always a y equals. And the range is your lowest y value to your highest y value. So what is my A, B, H, and K? Well, A would have to be in front of the parentheses, and since this doesn't have one, my A value is 1. My B value is 3, so I'm pulling numbers from this equation. So again, there's nothing in front of the 3, and if you had an A, there would have to be parentheses around B. So A is just 1, B is 3. H, we always change the sign, so H is not positive 3. H is negative 3. And K, there isn't 1, so we do put a 0. Okay. Well, why is A 1 if we don't see it and K 0? Well, A, you're multiplying, so when you multiply something by 1, it doesn't change the value. And K was adding, so you can't add a number in there because it would change the value. So let's try the second one again. Remember that any graph that doesn't have translations is going to intersect at 0, 1. So what happened to this graph? It went from here, up, up. So what did it do? It went up 2. My domain is all real numbers. My range, so guys, I'm doing the range of the red one. What's the lowest number the red goes? What number is this right here? My lowest number is 2. Okay? How high is it going to go? It's going to go to infinity. So we can write that y is greater than 2. We can also say it goes from 2 to infinity. That's my k value, guys. My k value affects my range. So that's a k value right here because it's after the exponent, not with the exponent. So this plus 2 went up 2, and this is also my asymptote. So my asymptote is y equals 2. Okay. My a, what's the number that's in front of my b? There isn't a number, so it's a 1. My b is 3. This time the graph did not move left and right, so my h is 0. And my k went up 2. My k is 2, so it went up 2. Let's try it again. Okay, the green graph is my original. What happened to get from my green to my blue? It went down 2. What's my domain? All real numbers. My range is my lowest y value. What is my lowest y value? It's this line right here. What is it? A -2. So my lowest range is -2. And it's going up forever, so it's greater than -2. Because it's going from -2 to infinity. My asymptote, it's that line that it's getting really close to but never going to touch. It's this line right here, the same line you're going to use for range, you're going to use for asymptote. So the asymptote is this straight line that it's never going to touch, y equals -2. Okay. A is the number that's in front of B. If you don't see one, your A is 1. Okay. The B value is 3. H is 0, because it did not move left and right, and K is -2. One more. Okay. That graph. So what happened to it, I see here that it moved over to the right. 1, 2, 3. We can't say it moved down because, yes, it did go down 1, but notice the shape is not the exact same shape right next to it, okay? If it went down 1, every point would go down 1. What happened to every point? It went to the right 3. Domain, all real numbers. My range is that lowest number it was going to be. The range is going to be from 0 to infinity, or we can say that y is greater than 0. So it goes from 0 to infinity because it's going up forever. The asymptote is y equals 0 because it's never going to cross it. A is 1, B 3, H is a positive 3 because it always changes signs, and there is no K, so it's a 0. Now let's look at just equations and let's define their variables and let's figure out what transformations it caused. So in this problem here, we have an A, B, H, and K. So we're going to go ahead and do A, B, H, K for each of these problems. So number 1, so it actually has all of them. A is the number in front of your parentheses. B is the number inside of your parentheses. You only need parentheses on B if you have an A, okay? But B has to have the exponent. So wherever the exponent is, that's your B value. H is a number that's after the X. It's going to be in the exponent. And K is a number that comes after the exponent. So in this problem, we have A, B. H, we always change the sign, so it's a positive 2. So what did all those letters do? Well, this is a vertical stretch by 5. B, well, B is going to be B is a horizontal compression, and we always take the reciprocal of the number. So it's a horizontal compression by 1/2. H is a positive 2, and because H is a positive 2, it's going to go to the right 2. So if H is positive, that's after you change the sign and went to the right 2. K is a -4, so this graph is going down 4. Okay, let's try it again. A is a number in front of parentheses if you have one. Since we don't have parentheses, my A value is going to be 1. My B is 3. My H, I always change the sign that I see in the exponent, so it's a -5. And my K is a positive 4. So A being 1, that doesn't do anything to the graph. Okay, it's not going to move the graph, it's just A is 1. B is 3 means that it is a horizontal compression, and I'm going to abbreviate, and we're going to take the reciprocal. If H is a -5, that means H caused the graph to go left 5. And if K is a +4, the graph went up 4. Let's try this again. Okay, if I don't see an A, that means it's a 1. B is 0.4, H is a +6, and K is a +1. Don't forget, if A is 1, it doesn't do anything to the graph. If B is 0.4, that means it's a number between 0 and 1. So it's a horizontal stretch. And we always take the reciprocal. Now this one's a little bit tricky. I personally would use a calculator. If I took the reciprocal of 0.4, so 0.4 over 1, so I flip it and do 1 divided by 0.4, my answer is 2.5. If H is a +6, it went to the right 6. And K caused the graph to go up 1. Last one. A is 6 because it's in front of the parentheses. B has the exponent attached to it. There is no H because there's no number in the exponent. And K is a -3. So what did all these numbers do? A caused a vertical stretch of 6. B caused a horizontal compression. And we take the reciprocal, so it's 1/2. K is 0, H is 0, so it did not move left or right at all. And K is -3, so the graph went down 3. Okay. So let's look at these graphs and take these words that we've been doing, what happened to these graphs. Now, only one change has been made. So my biggest thing that I can stress here is that it normally, anything, if you have just a b to the x power, it's going to cross through at 0, 1 every single time. So that's going to help me decide what changes are made. And the note tells us only one change has been made. So this graph went up 3. If it went up 3, that means my K value is 3. So my equation is y equals, and you start with the original equation they gave you. So y equals 2 to the x, and the +3 has to come at the end of the equation. My domain is all real numbers. My range is affected by that K value. My lowest value is 3, and it's going to go up forever. So that's inequality. This is interval. My asymptote is that number. It's y equals 3. The graph is actually never going to touch 3. Okay. The next one. And remember, if we talk about this y-intercept moving, but actually every single point on the graph has moved. So I can't say that this graph moved over just a little bit. I can't say it moved down by 3/4. No, it actually moved to the right too. And every point that was supposed to be there, okay, that's the parent function, every point moved to the right too. So it moved to the right too, so H is 2. But guys, don't forget, when I plug in an H, it always changes signs. So I'm actually going to put a -2 here. Well, why does it change signs? Because the equation had a negative. So if I'm subtracting a positive number, it turns into, it looks like x minus 2. Domain, all real numbers. I'm going to go ahead and abbreviate this with the double R. Guys, that's just another way of writing all real numbers. Range, it has no K value. So my lowest Y value is 0. And how high is it going to go? Infinity. Asymptote is the line that it can never cross. Now go ahead and try the next one on your own. Hopefully you were able to pause the video and try this one on your own. And I'm going to point to what we did. This graph went down 3. Okay? So then the equation is, that means my K value was -3. And that -3 goes at the end here. Domain is all real numbers. Range, the lowest value it could be was -3, and it's going up forever. So -3 to infinity. And my asymptote is that -3. So even though it looks like it's going to touch it, guys, it's never, ever going to cross it. Remember that an asymptote is an imaginary line that your graph is never going to cross. Okay? Hopefully this video helped see a different way to do transformations with exponentials. If you like this video, go ahead and give it a thumbs up, subscribe to this channel, and I will be posting more educational videos. Thanks and have a great day.